Vintage toys. We grew up with all of them. Staple in everyone's collection. A look back into the 80s and beyond. The colors, the characters, they all brought special meaning to all of us. Whether it be Star Wars, the Real Ghostbusters, Transformers, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of these toys have a special place in our hearts. And some, to us, are grail items. Never found or given in our childhood, but now we have them as adults. Let's take a look and see if we can do the impossible task of trying to determine which of these four great vintage toy lines is the best. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another, well, this is like a toy review, toy talk combination, if you will. We're going to do something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and that is try to determine out of the four vintage toy lines that I collect, which one is the best. This is probably a stupid thing to do because I love them all, and making myself pick which one's the best between vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, vintage Star Wars, vintage Transformers, and vintage The Real Ghostbusters is like, you know, asking yourself which kid you love the most, or if you love Italian or Mexican the most. So we're going to go through it. I was thinking about doing this on the review table, but I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're going to go guerrilla style here. I'm going to show you guys what I have. A lot of you know, but we're going to do that for some of you new viewers. And kind of go over each one, the pros and the cons of each collection. And then at the end, I'll give you what I think is the best line. Now, you guys, I want you to get in the comments. I want you to tell me what you think is the best line. Now, and don't do any of this. I think it's G.I. Joe. I think it's Thundercats. No. We're not doing that. We're not getting into that debate. This video's intent is to figure out which of the four that I collect is the best. I don't want to hear no G.I. Joe crap. I don't want to hear no Thundercats. I don't want to hear no Marvel. None of that shit. It's down to the four that I mentioned previously. So let's get to it. We're going to start out with my smallest collection, which it's hard to believe, but Star Wars. So we're going to start out with that. We're going to move on. So let's take a look at my Star Wars vintage collection. All right. Like I said in the intro, it's probably hard to believe if you guys have been watching this channel for any period of time. You guys know I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but this is probably, this is my smallest vintage collection of figures for one property. So it might be a little unfair, but I do have several, meaning like, less than 20 vintage Star Wars figures, and I will admit not all of these are actual vintage. Some of these are the retro, which are reproductions as well. Let's go over the pros and cons of these figures. Now, some of these figures are super old. We've got Darth Vader. This is a vintage Darth Vader. He is older. He does not have his telescoping lightsaber. His cape's in pretty good condition. I got this guy for like $10 a couple years ago. The likenesses suck. This figure is pushing 50 years old. The likenesses are terrible. That's gonna be a theme with a lot of these vintage figures. But I think for the era that it was in, pushing close to 50 years ago, this actually isn't that bad if we take a look at the sculpt and stuff. Obviously toys were much different back in the vintage era, back in the 70s and the 80s. So actually, if you think about it, this is pretty well done. Had the telescoping lightsaber, which was also a cool idea. It wasn't just where, he's holding on to his saber and whatnot. Star Wars actually did kind of develop into something much better too, though, kind of with the Jabba the Hutt playset here. Don't read me because I've got a Power of the Force figure in here. I do. I realize that. That is technically vintage too, but be that as it may, the Jabba the Hutt playset, I actually got this for my birthday this year. Paid $100 for it, but it is pretty much complete. I think it's 95% complete. This was one that I had as a kid, which was something I wanted to get back. And thanks to Gambit's Toy Box for getting me this. So yeah, again, really a very cool play set. So what are the pros of the Star Wars vintage era? Well, again, they gave us a really good variety of characters. You know, we got the Emperor, we got the Biker Scout. The Biker Scout's really well done. Very, very nice. We got the Wee Quay. We've got all the guys and all the characters that you would see in the movie, they pretty much made. I don't think there was any really big gaping holes. They also gave us some nice soft goods, as you can see on Bib Fortuna there. That's a tremendous figure. He's in mint condition. He's a really good figure and probably my favorite vintage figure that I have. They gave us vehicles. Obviously, I don't have a lot of vehicles here because this is the full collection, but I think for what Kenner was doing back in the day, they did a good job. Again, the likenesses are kind of, here and there, but you look at the ATST driver there. Again, that looks like what you would think it should look like from the movie. So all these are 5 points of articulation, as you guys know. And, really back in the day, it wasn't like it is now. The distribution was absolutely insane with these things. You could find these things easily $2-3 a piece. Obviously, things have changed a great deal since then. But, I think overall, the Star Wars line is a good line. It is not my favorite by any means. I will admit that. They reused a lot of the vehicles from the vintage line for the Power of the Force line, as you guys know. I don't have any of those, and I kind of sold it all. So maybe one day we'll get it back. But I would say out of the 4 lines I collect, the Star Wars line is my least favorite. I don't think it has the action features. I don't think it has the colors. And I don't think it has the true personality to compete with some of these other lines. So we're going to go ahead and give Star Wars number 4 out of 4 in this video. Let's move on to the next line. All right, next line up. We've got a lot more to work with here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Me and my brother Dan, we love these things when we were kids. We still do. I know Dan still is a Ninja Turtle fan. I am. And these things, one thing these have that Star Wars didn't have is color and a little more personality. There was a lot going on with the vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle line. You can see the colors. You can see the wide variety of characters that were here. These, again, aren't all vintage. There are some retros. There are some reproductions. So be that as it may, they're still vintage-esque, if you will. But you look at guys like Worm. Worm, the colors just pop, and it really makes for a nice display piece in the collection. Guys like Mondo Gecko, Scumbag, he's one of my favorites. We've got Muckman. I recently got Muckman, another fantastic one. I never had Metalhead as a kid. I never had Slash as a kid. General Trag was one of my favorites. So really just a very good mixture of figures with a lot of personality. But the best part of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wasn't necessarily the figures. They gave us play sets. I never had this as a kid either. The Sewer play set, another hard play set to come by, was one that I just never got as a kid. My parents did the best they could. They got us what we could. A lot of money with 2 kids. And fortunately, I was able to get this as an adult too. So really, the play value was really good on these. We had a lot of good figures. We had a lot of good accessories. And we had a lot of good play sets. And then we even got guys who were way too big in this crane with the android body that I got from Gambits as well. Massive. They did go back and redo him, but again, it was such a big figure for back in the day. The sizes weren't really comparable. We also got the Toilet Taxi. That's a repro as well, but more stuff that I just never had as a kid and wanted to get as an adult. So I think the Ninja Turtle line, which ran several years, is definitely up there. I think they're really well done. I do have a couple other items down here that I'll show you guys too. These are some of the vehicles. I think the vehicles may be some of the best and the most creative out of any vintage toy line ever. The Pizza Thrower, one of my absolute favorites. I remember we got that for Christmas one year and we just shot everything, including the family dog, including each other. A lot of stuff. The Technodrome Scout, that thing is like 50% complete, but again, it's something I never had. I never had the big turtle figures either. Those were really good vintage pieces as well. And then, of course, the foot ski, which I did have. Also cool. So Ninja Turtles, definitely a really good vintage line. But for me, I'm going to have to go and rank it number 3 in this particular video, just due to the fact I think the other two lines, for what they are and the special meaning that they have to me, actually beat it. So there you go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is number 3. All right. I mean, this one hits everything the other two didn't quite hit. The Real Ghostbusters line. You guys have heard me talk about this. We've done several videos on the Real Ghostbusters, and what a tremendous vintage line this is. The amount of color, the amount of variety, the amount of action features that come in this collection are astounding. The playset is astounding. We only have one playset, but that is a very major playset. The vehicles are astounding. The ghosts, you can kind of see the Gooper and Sludge Bucket. The ghosts were phenomenal. We got ghosts with each Ghostbuster. We had the Ecto 2 with the helicopter. I just feel that this is definitely a really underappreciated line at times, where people will say, I love a vintage line, but they don't name this. And that happens from time to time, and I just scratch my head at that, why this line isn't usually in the top 2 of everybody's list, because this line really does it all. They incorporated Universal monsters. They incorporated a big giant ghost bug into a Volkswagen Beetle. They had action features where we have the bazooka guy shooting other ghosts. I mean, this dude's ass turns into a monster. Come on, people. The little old granny, she's got an alligator mouth. The toilet. Who wants to sit on that toilet after Taco Bell? Not me. There you go. The trash guy, he turns into a giant bug. The cop's an exoskeleton. The lumberjack, he's a bat, for crying out loud. I mean, this line just, it pops, and it just has so many great memories for me when I was a kid. Again, me and my brother had a lot of these, but we didn't have them all. Some of the ones that we didn't have, Sludge Bucket, the yellow guy there, very pricey. He's not complete, but he's close. The Gooper Ghost, he is complete. He's mint condition, hard to get, got him. My good buddy Greg from Figure Fever got me this Winston Super Scare, complete. Thanks again to Greg. I don't think I ever gave you proper ups for that. Just so many great figures that really hit the mark for me, and I just absolutely love to death. So this is definitely one of the cornerstones of my collection. I feel the Ghostbuster line is a little underrated, but for me, it is a top 2 vintage line ever. This would happen even if I had G.I. Joe, even if I had Thundercats in this video, which we don't. So we're going to give the Real Ghostbusters number 2. This is a hard decision, but they're going to go at number 2. And if you guys have any interest at all in this line, I can give you a 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, seal of approval. Get in this line, guys. It's a phenomenal line. Some pieces are pricey, other pieces are not. You can get a good collection for not a ton of money. The biggest setback's going to be that firehouse, but definitely an awesome collection. Real Ghostbusters number 2. Let's get on to our number 1. All right. Ironically, I don't have a lot of our number 1 when it comes to vintage. I have a few repros and a few redos, re-releases, but the Transformers, you guys have seen, I've been a big Transformer kick. The Transformers was always number 1 to me. I have such fond memories of the Transformers vintage line. It's probably got more memories than any. And I think that's a lot of people. A lot of people will agree with this number 1, just due to the fact we never saw anything. I know we saw the GoBots a little bit earlier, but this cartoon, this line, had me from the day I first saw Optimus Prime. And it's got me ever since. And it's just an incredible thing to have a robot that changed into an airplane, to have a robot that changed into a truck, to have a robot that changed into a city. Just as play value itself is an absolutely incredible line, and just so very well done. Plus, it's going to give you, and it gave me, my number one grail of all time, which is Megatron. You guys have heard me talk about this probably countless times. Grail of grails for me. Never had it as a kid. Had it in my hands for a few minutes, and then it had to go away. But we got him now. And, this has such sentimental value for me. Unfortunately, we're living in an age now where this unfortunately can't happen. So I'm really happy that I've got it now. But the Transformers kind of had it all. They had good guys, bad guys. We had good colors. I know a lot of these are re-releases, but the colors popped. The characters are interesting. Everything about it. We had a bunch of robots combined into a bigger robot. And everything about it was interesting for me as a kid, and still is as an adult. So I'm definitely going to get the Transformers number one. It was close between that and the Ghostbusters, but I really feel like Transformers takes the cake, and probably always will. So there you go, guys. Transformers is going to be number one on this list. All right, so there you go. That's my list. I think it's hard to pick between these. It's not easy. As I'm filming this, which is total guerrilla style, by the way, I was going back and forth between the Ghostbusters and the Transformers. It's so hard to pick which one is your favorite because they all have sentimental value, like I said in the previous clips. And it's a flood of memories, even as you're going back and talking about it and just reminiscing about when you first had them, when you got them again, and what that meant to you as not only a kid, but as an adult as well. So I know there's a lot of modern collectors out there. I will tell you guys, if you got into modern collecting because of vintage toys, man, go get some vintage toys. I love my moderns, but vintage still have a special place in my heart. Always will. And, it's funny because my son the other day wanted to throw away a vintage Leonardo, and I probably yelled at him much louder than I should have. So that's kind of where it is, guys. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, pretty guerrilla style, but I really don't care. This is how I roll. So thanks for watching. If you did like this video, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Let me know what your favorite vintage line out of these four was, and I'll see you guys again soon. Later.